Hello and welcome to CVR News Network. You're watching CVR English World 360 and I'm Sandeep. Hamas militants prepare the stage and gather holding weapons in southern Gaza Strip city of Rafah ahead of 7th hostage prisoner swap with Israel since the ceasefire began. Hamas said it will release 6 living Israelis, the last living hostages eligible for release under the truce deal's first phase, which is due to expire in early March.
يلا روح. عمليات الفرد سريعة عشان نوصل، بدناش احنا الله معنوية عالية معنوية عالية. أول واحد يشتغل صح.
Hamas militants hand over 2 hostages, Tal Shahom and Avera Mengistu, to the Red Cross in southern Gaza Strip city of Rafah. Hamas said it will release 6 living Israelis in the 7th swap since the ceasefire began. The last living hostage is eligible for the release under the truce deal's first phase, which is due to expire in the early March. Hamas said it will release 6 living
اسم الطاولة. تمام، انتوا قدمتوا هيك على الطاولة كثير، لو سمحت لو سمحت.
الو 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 يا عمي يلا.
ويحملون معهم أسر العدو الصهيوني. يلا وصلوا الأسرى يا الفخري. عن 10 أعوام وهو في خطة المقاومة.
اسم الطاولة. تمام، انتوا قدمتوا هيك على الطاولة كثير، لو سمحت لو سمحت.
الو
Israelis rejoice in Tel Aviv's hostages square as they watch Hamas hand over Israeli hostages Tal Shoham and Avera Mengistu to members of the Red Cross in the southern Gaza Strip city of Rafah. Hamas said it would release 6 living Israelis during the 7th hostage war, and Hamas militants to members of the Red Square in the southern Gaza Strip city of Rafah during the 7th hostage prisoner exchange. Family and friends of Omer Shem-Tov watched his release on television in Tel Aviv as he is handed over to Red Cross in Gaza. A Red Cross envoy carrying 3 more freed Israeli hostages departed a ceremony in which masked Hamas militants handed them over in the central Gaza's Nazareth area. Departed a ceremony in which masked Hamas militants handed them over in the central Gaza's Nazareth area. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky revealed ongoing discussions with Washington over a draft agreement aimed at strengthening bilateral relations. This comes amid former U.S. President Donald Trump's criticism, calling Zelensky a dictator and urging swift pace with Russia.
Країни США працюють над проектом угоди між нашими урядами. Це угода, яка може додати нашим відносинам і, головне, деталі зробити так, щоб це могло спрацювати. Я сподіваюся на результат, на справедливий результат. Сьогодні ж дуже субстантивно говорив з прем'єр-міністром Люксембургу щодо різних ідей та пропозицій, які є в Європі заради миру, заради гарантій безпеки. Головний висновок: Європа має і може робити значно більше для того, щоб мир реально був досягнутий. Це можливо. У нас з партнерами в Європі є чіткі пропозиції. Ми можемо на цій основі забезпечити реалізацію європейської стратегії. І важливо, щоб це було разом з Америкою. Сьогодні команди України і США працюють над проектом угоди між нашими урядами. Це угода, яка може додати нашим відносинам і, головне, деталі зробити так, щоб це могло спрацювати. Я сподіваюся на результат, на справедливий результат. Сьогодні ж дуже субстантивно говорив з прем'єр-міністром Люксембургу щодо різних ідей та пропозицій, які є в Європі заради миру, заради гарантій безпеки. Головний висновок: Європа має і може робити значно більше для того, щоб мир реально був досягнутий. Це можливо. У нас з партнерами в Європі є чіткі пропозиції. Ми можемо на цій основі забезпечити реалізацію європейської стратегії. І важливо, щоб це було разом з Америкою. В Європі є чіткі пропозиції. Сьогодні команди України і США працюють над проектом угоди між нашими урядами. Це угода, яка може додати нашим відносинам і, головне, деталі зробити так, щоб це могло спрацювати. Я сподіваюся на результат, на справедливий результат. Сьогодні ж дуже субстантивно говорив з прем'єр-міністром Люксембургу щодо різних ідей та пропозицій, які є в Європі заради миру, заради гарантій безпеки. Головний висновок: Європа має і може робити значно більше для того, щоб мир реально був досягнутий. Це можливо. У нас з партнерами в Європі є чіткі пропозиції. Ми можемо на цій основі забезпечити реалізацію.
French President Emmanuel Macron said that he intends to tell U.S. counterpart Donald Trump that it's in the joint interest of Americans and Europeans not to be weak in the face of Russian leader Vladimir Putin amid U.S.-led negotiations to end the nearly 3-year war in Ukraine. Macron will travel to Washington to meet with Trump on Monday, the White House sources said.
Cette guerre et que la Russie est armée jusqu'aux dents et à nos frontières. Mais j'essaie de gérer cette incertitude pour nous. Et donc en gardant l'unité de tous, des Européens et des alliés, mais en allant aussi essayer de le convaincre qu'en fait, son intérêt est le même que le nôtre, quoi qu'il pense. Et donc ce que je vais faire, c'est je vais lui dire, au fond, tu peux pas être faible face au président Poutine. C'est pas toi, c'est pas ta marque de fabrique. C'est pas ton intérêt. Comment ensuite être crédible face à la Chine si tu es faible face à Poutine? La deuxième chose, je vais lui dire, si tu laisses l'Ukraine prise, la Russie, elle sera inarrêtable pour les Européens, pour tous, mais elle sera non seulement encore plus forte, elle continue d'investir, mais elle va récupérer l'Ukraine et son armée, qui est une des plus grandes d'Europe, avec tous nos équipements, y compris les équipements américains. C'est une faute stratégique. Et elle sera non seulement encore plus forte, elle continue d'investir, mais elle va récupérer...
The President, Donald Trump, and Maine's governor has heated exchange on Friday in which the president threatened to withhold funds unless Maine complied with his executive order. President Donald Trump and Maine Governor Janet Mills argue over his executive order banning transgender women in sports during the governor's working session.
You better do it because you're not going to get any federal funding at all if you don't. And by the way, your population, even though it's somewhat liberal, although I did very well there, and enjoy your life after governor because I don't think you'll be in elected politics. You had two transitioned people that were fighting in the women's boxing. They have women's boxing category. And if you saw that, it was brutal. And Democrat governors are going to have, you're going to get the benefit of this. You're going to be opening up plants and you're going to be... I hope we have enough people. We're going to and we want people to come into our country, by the way, I do, but they have to come in legally. So we need people in the country, but they have to come in legally. 2 weeks ago, I signed an executive order banning men from playing in women's sports. Many Democrats are fighting me on that. I hope you continue because you'll never win another race. And it's just crazy. If you look at what happened with the boxing, if you look at what happened with the weightlifting numbers, where a record that hadn't been broken for 19 years got shattered. But, they put up an eighth of an ounce here, an eighth of an ounce there, and it's 218 pounds or whatever, a lot. And hadn't been broken in 19 years. And then guy walks up who transitioned. He transitioned. And he knocked out that record by about 100 pounds. That would be a record not going to be broken again. So we put a ban on it, and to protect women. I mean, the women. If you watch the Olympics, You had two transitioned people that were fighting in the women's boxing. They have women's boxing category, and if you saw that, it was brutal. What happened to the Italian woman was a really good boxer. After one punch, she said, no more. I've never been hit. It was a left. It was not even it was just a left jab. She got hit so hard, she said, I can't do it. They forced her to go out. No, go out again. You'll do it. Goes out again, gets hit again. No, that's it. She didn't want to die, and it's crazy, but the NCAA has complied immediately, by the way. That's good. But I understand Maine. Is Maine here, the governor of Maine? Well, are you not going to comply with it?
I'm complying with state and federal laws.
Well, we are the federal law. Well, you better do it. You better do it because you're not going to get any federal funding at all if you don't. And by the way, your population, even though it's somewhat liberal, although I did very well there, your population doesn't want men playing in women's sports. So you better comply because otherwise you're not getting any federal funding. Every state, good, I'll see you in court. I look forward to that. That should be a real easy one. And enjoy your life after governor because I don't think you'll be in elected politics. Every state has a responsibility to comply with Title IX. They have an obligation, a legal obligation, and we'll be enforcing aggressively, and we're going to be protecting our citizens. We're going to protect. So just to end, this administration has been fighting for parents' rights and universal school choice. We want to do something that I think many people in this room want, and even if you don't, I think you do want it, but you might not be able to say it. We want to move the schools back to the states so that Iowa and South Carolina and Georgia and all these states can run your own school system. And you'll do a fantastic job, Kim. You're going to do great. I mean, I use your example because you're so much into the education, done a great job with school choice, and you'll do your school choice. That'll be the easy thing. But we want to get it back, take it away. So just some stats. So at last, it's usually with 38, 39, or 40 out of 40. They take the 40, I guess, biggest, most important, whatever it might be, but 40 countries.
A fire erupted in the grounds of Jomo Kenyatta International Airport in Nairobi but did not affect the flight operations. Emergency teams worked to contain the grassland fire in the northern part of the airport compound. A massive 4-alarm fire sent plumes of heavy smoke across South Jersey on Friday. The call came around 5 p.m. Friday for flames showing at the EMR Metal Recycling Center on the 1400 blocks of the South Front Street in Camden. The hot and scary being close to a junkyard fire, said the eyewitness. The chemicals, the smell, it was too much, said the nearby crossgrowers. US President Donald Trump weighed in on the ongoing Russia-Ukraine conflict, urging both President Vladimir Putin and President Volodymyr Zelensky to come together to end the war and stop the loss of millions of lives. "I want to see a ceasefire and want to get the deal done," Trump stated, emphasizing that while the war may not directly affect the US, it significantly impacted Europe. He criticized the current administration's financial contributions, pointing out that the US has invested $300 billion, while Europe has contributed $100 billion. Biden just gave them money, there was no loan or security, Trump remarked, asserting that the US should secure border terms for its involvement. He also expressed that US should be treated equally to Europe, calling for a fair deal. Reflecting on the broader international picture, Trump hinted at potential positive development in the Middle East and condemned the tragic scenes involving the children in the region, saying, "The sight of those babies yesterday was not acceptable to anybody," he added.
That President Putin and President Zelensky are going to have to get together because you know what? We want to stop killing millions of people. You have young soldiers being killed. If you saw the pictures that I saw of the battlefield from satellite, you've never seen any pictures like that. Soldiers are being killed by the thousands a week, thousands of soldiers a week. As we speak, they're being killed. That's why I want to see a ceasefire and I want to get the deal done. I think we have a chance to get the deal done. I had to make sure that Russia wanted to do it. It's a war that would have never happened if I was president, but it did happen. So I got stuck with it, and I want to stop people from being killed. You know, it doesn't affect the United States very much. It's on the other side of the ocean. It does affect Europe, and we've put in 3 times more money. We're in for $300 billion. They're in for $100 billion. And, you know, Europe is also doing it in the form of a loan. Biden just gave them money. There was no loan. There was no security. There was no anything. So we're going to either sign a deal or there's going to be a lot of problems with them. So we're going to sign a deal to get security because we have to do that. We're spending our treasure. They're spending their blood. They are. And they're very brave in every way you can imagine. But we are spending our treasure on a country that's very, very far away. And it's okay, but we have to be treated the same as Europe is being treated. Europe gets their money back. Europe is basically giving nothing because they get it back in the form of a loan, and it's a guaranteed loan. We don't get our money back, and we're losing. I mean, we don't want to do that anymore, so we're signing an agreement, hopefully in the next fairly short period of time, that will assure us that we'll get $400 or $500 billion back. We're in there for $300 billion. Now, one other thing. Europe is at 100. We're at 300. We think it has to equalize. In other words, they have to come up with more money because it has a big effect in Europe. It doesn't have much of an effect on us because we have a big, beautiful ocean in between. But it does affect, and Biden should have never gotten us into this mess. We had an incompetent president who got us into a mess, but we're going to get you out of it. The same thing in the Middle East. We're going to have some good news in the Middle East. What happened yesterday, the sight of those babies was not acceptable to anybody. Nobody's seen anything like it. I think that President Putin...
President Donald Trump announced on Friday he is replacing top U.S. military officer General Charles C.Q. Brown less than 2 years into his 4-year term as chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. Trump thanked Brown for his over 40 years of service in our country. In a post on his Truth Social platform that he said, he is honored to announce that I am nominating Air Force Lieutenant General Dan Razin Kane to be the next chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. General Kane is an accomplished pilot, national security expert, successful entrepreneur, and a war fighter with significant interagency and special operations experience, Trump wrote. A U.S. Air Force biography of Kane said he served in positions including Associate Director for Military Affairs at the CIA as well as in various operational and staff roles, including more than 150 hours in the combat as an F-16 pilot, an aircraft in which he has logged more than 2,800 hours. European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen and 27 national blocs political leadership will visit India next week to enhance trade, economic security and defense cooperation at a time of geopolitical turmoil in Europe caused by US Donald Trump's policies. The trip by von der Leyen and European Union College of Commissioners or political leaders of the 27 member states is being described as the unprecedented, as it is rare for the entire leadership to jointly visit any foreign country. This is also one of the first foreign visits by the European Commission elected last year. The EU announced on Friday its leadership will travel to New Delhi on February 26 to 28 to emphasize the importance of strengthening ties in key areas vital to prosperity and security of both Europe and India. And that's the end of the World 360. I am Sandeep signing off. Keep watching CVR News English.